cloth, blue cloth, pink cloth. Look, I'll give him blue, some blue. Don't question it. Hello, welcome to an introvert tutorial. Rather than just explaining my process, I'm just going through in detail step by step of how I draw an artwork. So first off, what I want to say is that different artists can have different steps or different techniques they use to draw an artwork. So this is what I do usually, and different people have different habits, and I don't believe in the notion that you should follow any particular artist step-by-step guide. You can use it to learn, you can use it to grab the basics, but as time passes, you learn from different people, and you'll start to either combine skills, like combine different artist techniques that you've learned, or you apply, you invent techniques of your own, or both, actually, more likely both. So, with that said, this is what I do. First off, I drew the draft pencil on Clip Studio Paint. It is called Artemis HB. It doesn't really matter what brush I use, actually. I usually use it for a flat brush, and for a long time I even just use a default flat brush for that. But this particular one, that I just like the texture for draft. Anyway, as you can see, it's quite rough. You can see a lot of different messy lines here and there. The features is not even that prominent. Basically, I have that big shape done. As long as I'm clear with how the physique look, how the entire shape and the forms look, and I am satisfied with it, I'll move on to the next section. I won't clean the lines, so to speak. I'm a very lazy person. And the next step is just fill the entire area with a flat colour. I think a lot of artists would use just the grey. That way, when they apply colours, they can have this setting where it only allows you to draw within the grey areas. So that helps you to not like brush over the edge. And sometimes if you draw a character, you can eliminate the background. You want a PNG transparent file, then you can use this technique to avoid going over the edge. And so in this case, I'm going to do it. Weak. There you go. For this one, I want to try out blue base instead of grey. I want to try out what that looks like. Anyway, next step is to use a multiply layer and apply some loco colours. We'll give him a Legolas blonde hair. I'm using a skin brush, but only very recently, before I used that default square brush. Oh, by the way, I used the corner, you can see my mouse. I used this option with this red line enabled. I can draw only within that blue area. Blonde hair, give him some blonde hair. There you go. Blonde hair. And his face, give him skin colour in there. Now the colour looks very odd, because the local colour that I'm drawing is applied on top of the blue layer, and the darkness is multiplied, so to speak. And it looks very weird from the start. Bear with me. Even for just a skin colour, I just draw outside skin. A lot of my brush just bleed over to the other areas. It doesn't really matter. In fact, I think is that a technique? I'm not sure, but it is a good accident. It will look like the light will bleed to other areas of the character. Anyway, for the cloth, I'll just give him some blue cloth, pink cloth. Look, I'll give him blue, some blue. There you go. A lot of local colours. I'll quickly apply it. Whee! Anyway, oops, let me see. So this is the layer disabled the normal effect without the multiply effect. This is what he is supposed to look like if you don't have that base layer. I'm not going to add too much detail for the sake of time management. And his laurel crown, give him some yellowish green laurels. Alright, let's enable the multiply effect again. Boop! Right, it sucks, right? Looks terrible. What are we going to do? Next is a new layer with lighten. And I use airbrush for this lighten area, as also using this red line effect enabled. You can stack them like this so that all the red lined layers will be within the base layer. So with a lightened effect, you can use the airbrush with a white color and then apply it to basically anywhere that you think it should be lighter. For me, I apply it around the edges so it looks like he's backlit. He has this imposing figure with light coming out from behind him. And the next is another layer. We'll do the same thing again. This time I'll use the overlay layer. And then here comes the good part, is where we bring more color, more lifelike color to him. I'm still using airbrush, but I just make the brush a little bit finer and I'll apply it on his face. Like this. Like. There. Some blood. Some hint of life is back. Some on his hand as well. Some on his arm. His shoulder. His other hand. And his neck as well. Yeah, no need to apply too much. Just areas you think it should be highlighted. This leg as well. Here. Leg, and this other leg. This is a good opportunity for you to show the form of the character. I'll use his leg, his left leg, or right leg, for example. So this is the leg that without applying any overlay color. So I'll use the again select the skin color, the more saturated than before, and then you can imagine that this muscle here is like an oval muscle, and I'll apply it here so that the light reflects from here. Like, you know, it's quite difficult to explain. It's and why am I explaining form? Anyway, apply it just here so that the edge is more shadowy, the edge is darker, and the brightest part is here. And it looks more 3D as a result. And for this shin, how about that I don't apply overlay colors on his shin so that it remains bluish? What's gonna happen? So if I apply it, it will look like this. It looks like the two legs are the same, on the same level. But if I don't, it will look like his leg is at the back. So there's this atmospheric perspective going on. You see that his left leg is at the front and his right leg is at the back. So I'm gonna keep it that way. Next is his cloth, his really super long cloth. I'll use blue again. Do the same thing. And now you look at some point, some of the blue will bleed out to his skin, and here as well. And we're just gonna ignore that. These are also happy accidents. Let me apply it to other different areas of his clothes, his outfit. I never use pure grey or pure white, pure black. I'll always use a little bit of colour. So for his armour, even though it's light grey, I'll turn a little bit yellow tint for it. Just so that it shows some more colours in life. Is yellow good? How about pink or purple? Let's see. Purple looks cool. Let me do that. Yay. Here, oh, his belt is brown, and his, oh, I forgot, his hair is yellow, blondie. The laurel crown colors, there you go. Okay, now it is still not lively enough, isn't it? How about we just turn on another layer again using this. We'll use lumosity again, airbrush, and we'll do the same thing. So what happens is, again, I'll use the skin as the first example. Wait, see, bright light. Bright light on his face. Wowee! Although, it really depends on the lighting of your artwork, where you, how bright you want it. For me, this is a rather dramatic scene, so I'll give him a very dramatic lighting. This is basically how I do the color composition. Now it looks quite messy, isn't it? Wait. Now I just move the line, the pencil layer under all the colors and I copied the pencil layer on the very top with only 20% capacity. It's a little bit too bright, isn't it? Let me just adjust here and there. By group them all. Group all the layers. And then make a merged one. A merged so that everything is one layer. If I ever find the color not satisfactory enough, I'll open that color balance tool and try to see different color combination and see what works out. And yes, there you go. And after that comes to my rendering part. How I render stuff is pretty, I don't know, it's pretty up to my mood, actually. I will just adjust here and there and fly from this area, and then I go back to this area and I go back to that area and render whatever I want, whatever I fancy. It really isn't that systematic, I'd say. So, you know what? I'm going to start rendering by myself and I'll speed up the process. After that, you can see for yourself what you can learn from that process, and I'll add some commentary during editing. So, let's go. Okay, at this point I think I've rendered for 1 hour. It is pretty satisfactory, I think. Anyway, about the mouth part here is part of the character design, so don't question it. So what I have to say over here is mainly about how colouring a large part of shadows. So there's a I'm not sure if it's a technique or a style. I think it's more like a style or a mix of both. So you see, especially maybe at the clothes area and the chest area, there's a big part of shadow here, as you can see. And for the clothes, like big triangle over here, is another big part of shadow. So what I do is that I'll use a big shadow, right? I would draw a big shadow over here. I would use a slightly lighter, a slightly different color scheme in the middle of the shadowy part. So it would look like that the big area, dark area, would have a darker outline and a lighter filling in the middle. So one other example is when I draw, I guess, a big sphere. I use a yellow sphere for an example. Yellow sphere. The light comes from this direction, and I have a big shadowy part. So about half, it's like the moon, right? About half of the sphere is covered in shadow, and I use this spot, like sort of lighten it a little bit here, and to draw the entire sphere as a whole. So there's a light part, this darkest part of the shadow. I think I'll blend it a little bit more, but that is the darkest part, and there's a slightly lighter part for the largest shadow, and I have some reflective light at the back. So I imagine the floor is white, so a little bit of whiteness from the ground here, and blend it a little bit. That's basically how I do shadows. Whoop. And this is how I do the character for a while. He's supposed to be a statue, by the way, but for the sake of this tutorial I added a lot of colours to make it seem more, yeah, it's more like a character than a statue. I'm going to adjust the colour a bit. I'm not going to use these colours anymore. Let's go. there you go. A tutorial of how I do colouring. Yay! Feel free to comment below to express your opinion, whether you want to see my previous, something more like my previous video where I just speed up my entire drawing process with an entire finished artwork and add some commentary here and there, or like this one where I didn't finish the entire artwork. There's still a lot of unpolished areas, but I basically explained in more of a detailed way of what I did, of the layers that I do, the effects that I applied, and some little bit of tidbits info here and there. And that's about it. See ya!